We're in the studio with new artist David Bradley here, and I mentioned earlier, you probably have gotten the comment, y'all ain't from around these parts.
No, I'm definitely not from around these parts. I'm from Newcastle, northeast England.
And you moved here 2 years ago. What
years ago.
made the move?
Well, I'd cut a record. I mean, the story is long and crazy, but I cut a record out in Russia with some Russian jazz musicians. I was working there in the oil business, and it got kind of found in the States by the lady who's now my manager, and she brought me to Nashville 2.5 years ago for a look round and said, "What do you think?" I said, "I mean, if you've been to Nashville, it's a cool town, cool vibe." And she said, "I want you to move here. If you're serious about making this in the music business, then you need to move to Nashville." So I quit everything and moved everything across to Nashville 2 years ago. So
and
that's why.
You were doing music there? Or had you made the plunge?
No, well, not really. I've always been involved in music. We had bands wherever I worked overseas with fellow engineers. And we'd play for the rest of the guys on camps, in Kazakhstan and, various places around the world. We'd put a band together and play just to entertain the rest of the troops at night. So that was my only real venture into the music business. It was just a hobby at the time. But I find myself in Russia. I'd written a few songs. In
the military, I'm guessing.
In oil and gas.
In oil and gas,
yeah,
okay.
In the oil business. And I was in Russia and I met with a bunch of Russian jazz musicians. I went to buy an old guitar just to keep writing. I found an old, a little music store in Russia, in Siberia, Tyumen. And I went to buy an old cheap guitar there that I could write and then leave when the job was finished. And I asked the guy behind the counter in my best Russian, "Are there any bands here that are looking for?" When you go into a music store, you normally see singer wanted, bass guitarist wanted, or something, And he looks at me and said, "We've got a band." I said, "Wow, cool. What do you play?" He said, "Jazz funk." Oh, okay, that's not really me, but that's cool. He said, "No, come to this place." So he writes me down this address, and I head out to their studio the next night, and they've built themselves a beautiful recording studio in the middle of Siberia. And these guys, they're jazz guys, so technically they were, great players. And we played in and around Siberia for a while, and around Russia for a while as a, after work or a time off as a hobby, as a touring British artist kind of thing. And my job was finishing. They were going to send me out to Kurdistan, northern Iraq. That was my next job, and I don't really fancy that. So I just sat the guys down and said, "How about all of these songs that I've been writing? How about we just sit down and we cut them, we record them?" And that's what I did for almost a year out there. I brought all that back to London, back to Abbey Road, where the Beatles did all of their work. We mixed it and mastered it in Abbey Road, and the guy there said, "You need to get this to America." And we sent it across. I got picked up by American management. They moved me here, and I've spent the last 2 years writing for a publishing company on Music Row and recording a new album, which is finished and comes out early next year sometime, with Brady Seals, who was in Little Texas.
Yeah.
And, Brady's produced the album. We were fortunate enough to have Rodney Crowell come in and sing backing vocals. I did a duet with Emily West from Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And we put the first single out in the summer just because it was the first one that was mixed. We cut that first. It was mixed, and it was nice weather, and I lived out by the lake in Nashville, and we just put it out.
Did you categorize yourself as country back in London?
Well, the country isn't big in England, in Britain.
Right.
It's just not there. So, I mean, it's like liking Barry Manilow. You could do it, you just don't tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of all there is an underground of country fans there. Keith Urban is big there, but you've got to find them out. But I got into country because I followed my dad into the oil and gas business. My dad used to work out in Saudi Arabia when they first started all the oil out there in the Arabian Gulf, and he worked for Exxon and Marathon and Hess and all the American oil companies. And he would bring back pirate cassettes of Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson, and I'd have them on my. I was the first boy in my street when I was a kid to have a Sony Walkman cassette player. Remember that?
That's awesome.
Remember the old cassette
yeah.
players? I was the first guy to have one, and the only cassettes I had were country cassettes. So from that high, I listened to country music, and I guess it just stuck. You know, I've always come back to that. I had an American iTunes account. I was always listening to what was coming out of Nashville rather than listening to what was on the charts in England.
Well, that's fantastic. I can't wait to hear. Is this song you're going to play something you wrote?
This is. We play the single. This is "Soak It Up." It charted earlier on in the year. It's a summertime song, which is not exactly ideal for the weather we've got in Mount Pleasant today. But
yeah,
man, you know what it is. The sun will come out. If we play this song, the sun will come out.
I'll take your word for it. Soak It Up. It's David Bradley.
Piled up in a pickup, burning down this gravel road. We're headed to the lake with my old man's beat up fishing boat. No palm trees or a blue sea to sail $1 million yacht. We're country boys and girls making the best of what we got. And there's no better time to take it in, to get outside and feel it on our skin. Dive head first into the summer and sun and soak it up. Blasting Molly through the stereo, our own island life scenario. Blend some Jose lime and coconut and soak it up. Yeah, let's soak it up. In Tennessee or Jamaica, yeah, well, it's still hot. We got a share of pretty girls here in bikini tops, and we got catfish instead of swordfish, and Jenny baked a key lime pie. We're living out our homemade southern style Caribbean paradise. And there's no better time to take it in, to get outside and feel it on our skin. Dive head first into the summer and sun and soak it up. Blasting Molly through the stereo, our own island life scenario. Blend some Jose lime and coconut. Soak it up. Yeah, let's soak it up. Come on, let's soak it up. Cannonballing off the rocks, making out under the docks. Well, there's no better time to take it in, to get outside and feel it on our skin. Dive head first into the summer and sun and soak it up. Blasting Molly through the stereo, our own island life scenario. Blend some Jose lime and coconut and soak it up. Yeah, let's soak it up. Come on, let's soak it up.
It's DavidBradleyMusic.com. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I
Or
can't wait.
myspace.com/Dave Bradley Music.
In fact, there's a street team too, and then people who watch this kind of thing, especially online.
We've got a real.
streetteam.davidbradleymusic.com.
That's correct. Thank you.